at the dinner, blessed our food, and who else? Good. So is that something we'd want to discuss? I don't know that I would have the answer. As Teresa or Nicole. Hey. Well, a lot of some of them I think I didn't know if she'd already had enough. Development is if they have to. We're good. Welcome. So we're still missing a reverence if someone down the lines willing.
Test. Mine is not on.
Willing to.
I don't. This does not make.
They did. The reason was built on part of the easement.
Yeah, there's one sitting here. I'll get to see.
That very well may be it. Well, there are several things on our work session, so maybe we could get started here. The first ones that came in was from Councilmember Paulson. I just go down through a list of things, and some of them I think there'll be some discussion on. Some of them I can actually planning commission meeting. But as far as the city planner position being filled, we've never closed that. Filled it, had resigned, having moved her from the recorder's that. So then we moved into tomato days, and we just need to repost it, so it's still open. You know, that's correct, right? Moved with. And Ryan, you sent some. Right. We can kind of compare that to what we've posted. I think the good thing about it is it felt like for you, when someone's hired, they can look at this and realize that they don't have to be able to do all that right up front. They'll be able to grow in the position. And I think that's what have opportunity. Playground update, pickleball, basketball. We could have Sherry, I think, will review all that, part of our regular session, where we are on those things. Good to see you. So if that's all right, we'll just, we'll maybe have a chance to follow up on the ball diamond with the goat heads. That should have been taken care of early on, unless there's something that's, you know, that's where, again, they're back. So are you talking the actual goat heads or plant, or the plant that, what are you? Plant, but not good for a ball field. Well, we'll just talk to Public Works and tell them, or that. I actually called Jared on that today and he said, you know, I really thought we had those without going through and picking them up. Goat head itself, puncher weed, as I going through picking them up. You're saying the plants are resprouted now and growing again. A little ways. Okay, the next item for discussion was planned for elections. Is there going to be a meet the candidates night? And there's actually two will be scheduled. One will be October 5th at 7 o'clock. Second will be Thursday, October 28th. Days of the week in case someone's not able to. Well, I think there'll be questions that, what they've done in the past, they just write questions on a piece of paper and hand them in and then draw them out, and then everybody answers the same. You know, both of them last. I mean, people could come early and meet the candidates. They did that for a half hour or so. Then we came up front. Sure. That Well, you had a chance to come and set up, meet, or you could meet before or after. Okay. Update on city development projects. Best thing to do is just have you. They're every Wednesday. Or Jared's out of town. So. So are you talking having an agenda item or in a work session? Sure. Well, and if that happens, I would invite you to come to our staff meeting too and specifically sit in. Well, usually they're. Stop in, I mean, if we were to go over every development, if. $5,500, oh, the road. First of the year. Well, they're going to, yeah, they're going through and doing some surveying and things like that, and they are visiting with some of the neighbors where urban gutter will be. Well, it's right over here. That's why our water's. I don't, or you could get an email in. Well, if you send him an email, that would give him a little heads up on what you specifically want to know, even though I think Jared probably review questions you would have. So they did send out mailers, to everyone. Put if their water was going to be off. That's why there was a notice out on the. Okay. Well, we'll try to help the staff if you'll help us. We can sum that up. It's never been approved. Nothing's ever been approved, and it is happened addition. Yeah, they're approved. What held them up is that they were operating on the state road with a. Okay, and then discuss any public concerns that may have city staff. Okay, okay, the arena lights. Okay,
Yes.
save a little time.
We need.
You just do that. Okay. Brian. Well, I always thought we took as many volunteers as we could to serve. I've never known us to ever turn away someone that offers to help. Well, I don't know who. So, well, I think the policy should be that help. I don't think we ought. Sure. Okay. I think. Fine. Again, the only problem was with that. That's the problem. They had it. Well, I think we've about covered. So 7 o'clock, we will. Thursday, September. Paulson. If you've had a chance to August 9th, find any. Have a motion, second, to approve the August 19th. Any opposed? Okay, at this time, we would ask conflicts of interest. You disclose. Being none, report section of the agenda for July financial report year through. good time to maybe review some questions you might have, or?
I want to make sure I'm not going to understand this. So the first page is from our budget. And if you look down at 1044, for this year. Down on 1046.66, there's actually four lines there for salaries and wages. And so that was our budget in April. So if you go to last month's financials, end of the fiscal year, and try to find those lines, 1044-1520, I've kind of built in a little thing. That just page. Same thing happened with 1046.661. 1046.665. I'm voting. Yeah, that was 5.
I don't know that I have kept budget. Back. Don't always expand, you don't always spend everything that you. That,
Right. And I thought
So-
the same thing, but my question is, if this is month 12, why wouldn't that line?
when the year hasn't ended yet.
Money. Why would that money still be accounted for?
Yeah. Well, we always know, and we're always told that a budget is not necessarily real money. It's a budget. Budget. But we could ask Teresa. My understanding that a budget really isn't money that's just sitting there. What we budget for. Don't take action on it. Probably does. Budget should have used.
Stays the same. So I attached the July. Those two line items back. This year's budget. July. This year's budget. They're both.
Well, it's not a 12-year calendar. We're starting.
Because especially overlays, I mean, we all see the current state of our roads in our town.
Guess is there was no. So.
Just something to ask somebody about.
Okay. I have a way. So many people that review this.
Federal money.
Is it disappearing?
Yeah, that's a good question there. Is it rolling into another general fund type item that comes out? Question. Here to follow if everything line item title. Okay. Question. You can keep this copy, I hope. Put that on an ink. All right. Okay, so discussion on our July. On to the next item of our agenda, which is citizens' comment. To any item on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we'll close our citizens' comment. Go to our city business on our agenda. First thing we have is a Weber School District Superintendent. Invite you to come up, and looks like you're also be a community relations specialist.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm honored to be here, Mayor and Council and friend Reed Richards. Let me just acknowledge a couple of people who are here tonight with us. John Ritchie, our school board president. Lane Finley works with safety and public relations, formerly with the Sheriff's Department, lieutenant in the Sheriff's Department. Larry Hadley is our director. Mayor and Council, we're honored to be here tonight and talk a little bit about a bond. School bond really is the funding mechanism school district uses to do two things: manage growth, manage aging facilities. And you're always trying to balance those needs also with taxpayer appetite to fund those bonds. I don't have to tell anybody in this area, Western Weber County, there is significant growth. Our school board over the last 3 or 4 years has tried to manage that growth through boundary adjustments. We've made boundary adjustments at the high school, junior high, and elementary levels. We've also used all the portables that we have access to, and our schools are still overcrowded. I'm talking about Weber High, Fremont High, Roy High, our junior high schools, Orion, Rocky Mountain, Walquist, Sandridge, even Roy Junior that we just rebuilt. We rebuilt that as a 1,200 student school, and we're already at 1,000. And of course, our elementary schools, Canesville and some of these other schools are overcrowded. Well, last month, our board made the decision that we wanted to go to bond this November. And we have a short 3-minute video that might introduce that. Then, Mayor and Council, I'll try to answer any questions that you might have, okay?
popping up. Grandma and grandpa are worried. Bond will help build several new. Bond will do a number of things. Property possible. Not only are there more tax, also has a refinance. All of these factors. Property. Last bond for two. Bond will also allow Rocky. Projects. Upgrades property. Projects on the. Environment. On we. Less crowded. Average. On October 12th, vote by election. Time.
Kind of summary, there are 4 projects on this bond proposal. A new high school, that's the big ticket item. Mentioned in the video, if the bond is successful in November, the high school would be scheduled to open the fall of 24, which would be exactly 30 years from when Fremont opened. Many of us still think about Fremont as a brand new school, and that's a school that has served Western Weber County very well. But we're crowded, and we're now at a point that we need a new high school. There'd also be a new junior high, new elementary, and then a rebuild of Roosevelt. And all of those things I want to emphasize to you, we're going to be able to do that without raising the tax rate. In fact, this will be the 5th consecutive bond that Weber School District has put forward to voters and not raised the tax rate. And quite frankly, that's unprecedented. Our board has been so sensitive to the needs of taxpayers, and yet tried to keep up with managing enrollment growth and aging facilities. With that, Mayor and Council, I'll try to address questions that you might have or any concerns.
So, press it at an.
No, what happens on, maybe just a couple of things. If the bond is successful, we would not issue all $279 million at once. If we did, that would spike the tax rate. So those bonds are layered in over time. And the idea of that is you're gradually layering in new debt as you're paying off old debt. Let me give you an idea about interest rates. This summer, we refinanced, I think it was about $11 million that were still, we still had from the 2012 bond, and the interest rate 0.58. 0.58 on that refinance. So interest rates right now for bonds are below 1%. And that helps to offset some of the dramatic increases in construction costs, but they are at historic lows. And then once you've issued that round of bonds, then it's locked in. That's locked.
Curious.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Let me just, we're at about 2100 south and about lane 40. Yeah. If you've ever been to our ag science center, so we own 52 acres right there. In fact, all three properties, we own the properties.
So I do know where that ag science
That's on the,
across the street.
no, that's on the,
Right on the-
that's on the, what will be the high school site. Yeah, that ag science is in the southwest corner of this piece of property. But that's a piece of property that our district has owned for quite some time. In fact, that's probably one thing that really will enable us to pull this off without raising tax rate, is that we already own all three properties. Can you imagine having to go out into this part of the county right now and buy 50 acres for a high school and 25, 30 acres for a junior high? And no, junior high, do you know where our bus facility is? Off 21st. It's a little bit to the west of that, just a bit to the west of that. Just west of.
I have two questions. I'm assuming all of. Also, what happens if the bond?
Let me try to address both. The boundary adjustment process will take place if the bond is successful. And one thing, Councilman, that I love about our boundary adjustment process is it's very much grassroots. It's families and teams from schools that come together. We don't have someone in the district office behind closed doors arbitrarily drawing boundaries. We very much involve communities. I can see probably about 600 kids needing to come out of Weber, about 600 kids needing to come out of Fremont, probably about 300 kids needing to come out of Roy. And so there's going to be some movement of those boundaries. But what that will do is create now 5 high schools in our school district, all about 1,500, 1,600. I can see all of our high schools back in the same region, not driving to Cache County, every other week. It'll be a neat thing to get our high schools all kind of back, at least for the time being, around the same size, 1,500, 1,600. Right now, we've got Fremont at 2,100, Weber at 2,100, Roy 1,900. Okay. What was the second question?
Just about the bond. What happens if it doesn't pass? What's the next step?
I don't know. Because we've used the strategies that we have, boundary adjustment. The only high school that we have room left, Bonneville right now. But there's an unwillingness, and you can understand that, to bus people from the Fremont area, Washington Terrace to Bonneville. So we've tried to manage, we've used all the portables that we have access to, but I will say this is the third bond I've been a part of as superintendent, and we haven't encountered opposition to this. People recognize the need for a bond, both for growth and aging facility, and the fact that our board has been so careful to do this without raising the tax rate. there just really hasn't been any opposition that I felt. We're in the process of making about close to 70 community presentations to just address concerns, answer questions, and we're just not encountering that. So someone asked me what my greatest concern was on this one, and I said apathy. So we need people to get out and vote, but there seems to be good understanding of the need and appreciation for the fact that we can do this without raising the tax rate. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Just let me just share a couple of things. If you don't have to raise the property tax rate, that's probably what you're asking. You have more taxpayers that are coming into the county and they're paying that rate, and that generates revenue. So think about, you know, the hundreds and hundreds of homes that are going in, and they're all paying that rate. The other thing that's very helpful is that as we're paying off old debt, we're gradually layering in new debt. And then when it makes financial sense, we'll refinance and create some savings that way. I'd say those are the three things that we've really tried to do to manage resources ways that don't impact tax rates.
You were take the bond money from the 2012, just recently.
No, what I said is that we had some outstanding debt from a bond series that was issued from the 2012 bond, and we refinanced that. And we refinanced that at an interest rate of 0.58. Yeah, we weren't using it. We were refinancing. It just made financial sense. It saved taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. Great. Thank you very much. And I see Hooper's finest, Dr. Belknap, got here too. So.
Well, we'll bring it back to the council. Do you have any other questions? Okay, next on our agenda, then we have a discussion on ARPA funds, Taylor West. They ARPA stands for have it written on. Has to do with culinary. So the Taylor West Weaver, that is a water special district. I can just tell you a little bit about this. One of the concerns they have, there's new roads that are American Rescue. So they're concerned about if we put in new roads and they have old something goes wrong. So Cooper City did write they just growth is back and but they do. So anyway, that's what I think they were going to. Okay, well, next item then, this is a discussion on we did
Okay.
start with the
Okay, so I know this seems like we just barely finished and we're right starting, and then we'll do a little report of what's going on so far with these ones. The grants have to be, we apply for those grants in January. So I would like to have those done if I can by the middle of December. I have to have my rotator cuff on my right arm operated on, and I don't know how good I'll be able to type. So this is kind of a selfish motive to get started this soon, that I want to get these done. And so let me just tell you some suggestions I was thinking of, and I'd like your input. If we could have 2 of you volunteer to be on a ramp committee. Again, you know, last year we had that ramp committee, would be great. So let me just tell you some thoughts, and then you be thinking, and then whoever volunteers, you know, we can. So one thought we had for a major grant for next year was to replace the restrooms at the old Hooper Park. I don't know what to call it. They call this one the North Park. I don't know what that one is called. Hooper Park. Those restrooms have been there as long as me before. I don't know how old they are, but they're older than I am, which is a long time. We say they fit ADA requirements. They do not. Just because there is a ramp that goes at the front of them, there is not room in those restrooms for a wheelchair. Probably a little more so in the men's than there is in the women's. And so, like, for instance, we just had our Hooper Tomato Days, and I actually have to account for all our ADA accessible restrooms. When you get your mass gathering, you have to, you know, account for how many restrooms you have. Those really don't count for ADA. So one thing we were thinking of with that is to get something similar to this, only more. These restrooms we have out here, they come and they bring them. I don't know if any of you were here and they brought them. They're a cement unit that comes, and they have, they're easy to wash out. They have like graffiti protection on the outside. We were thinking of possibly doing 8. So you could have 4 facing the pavilion and maybe 4 facing the rodeo grounds. And again, the ramp committee could decide if we want just 8 like this, if we want to have maybe 4 that are handicap accessible, some that have stalls, whatever. But that was a thought of a major grant. These were, oh, and I just barely looked that up. They were like $133,000. So in order to do twice as many, we're thinking they would at least be $250,000, which would put us in the major grant. So that was just a thought, but I'll be thinking if there's anything else. Okay, some ideas for under Parks and Recreation, because we can apply for 3. I don't know if how many of you were at the rodeo this year, but we were packed. And we've sat about as many people as we possibly could. And the bleachers that are under the covered part, some of those, again, they're old. Some of them are starting to crack. You know, they were right trying to replace some. So we thought about trying to maybe replace those bleachers on that side. We'd have a little room to expand, so we'd have a little more seating. That was a thought to do that. Another thing we thought of doing was currently there's not any kind of public works building down there at all. And so when they come to work the grounds like the tractor, like they do every Saturday morning, well, when we had water, it was more often than that, but sure was a little bit of an exception. But if we could actually have some kind of a building there that they could keep a tractor there, then when they're coming back and forth, it's not like they're driving it from here back and forth. So we could have a shop that could also have some storage. Because currently at those restrooms, the old ones, we have a storage unit behind them where we store picnic tables. If we do this kind, we lose our storage. So that would be a thought. Another one would be replacing the tables down there. Again, those tables are really old. They're really heavy. Those of you know that helped move them. They are heavy, which these tables are heavy as well, but those, for a number of years, we had Eagle Scouts come and repaint them. First person that uses them after they paint them, rip the paint off because they tape. So we have 20 tables that are the old ones, that if we could get some, powder coated ones, those are some thoughts. Okay, those are some ideas to the major grant and the parks and recreation. Oh, yeah. No, so the park arena, the public works, and the 20 new tables are just 3, and they have to be less than 200,000. And usually what we do when we're applying for the grants is usually we apply for the cost of the object. For example, like these restrooms, we applied for how much the restroom cost. The city's portion was then the cement, the plumbing, the electrical, the sewer, that some of that is actual funds, some of it is labor, which would be the same with these. If we had restrooms down there again, we would apply for the amount of the restrooms. Then the city would be responsible for pouring the cement, hooking into the sewer. One good thing about doing them all right there is the sewer's already there. The water's already there. So that would minimize some of that cost. There's already power, but they've lived a good life, but they've been vandalized a lot of times. I don't remember him not being there ever. Do you, Dale, remember him not being there? So I know, and I'm almost 66, so I don't remember those restrooms not being there. So like I say, they've done good, and anyway.
Today,
Mm.
side and out.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That hasn't,
No, and these are just nice. I don't know if you've had a chance, to utilize this or even look inside them, but they're nice and they can clean them so easy. Someone just recently took a pole, I don't know if you noticed, in the women's restroom and did this in the ceiling, and we have holes punched in the ceiling down at the women's restroom down there. So, I mean, this is a necessity. I mean, yes, we can keep going on with what we're doing, but anyway. Okay, some ideas for arts and museum then. We've applied in the past for our concert. One idea for a concert for next year, which give me some input. We had Ryan Shoup and the Rubber Band approach us like a couple of years ago about wanting to come, but we'd already locked in Gentry and then we couldn't have them, and then we had them. But that's one we can apply for arts and museums to get those concerts funded, which are really good because then we can offer a free concert. We've applied 2 years for a marquee, and I know sometimes we think, oh, why do we want a marquee? But I was just out at Far West City. They have their marquee, and then when you were talking, I thought then we could put on a marquee, road closure, 5,500. Not that everybody comes by, but we have it when Ryan knows we send out newsletters all the time. We send out postcards, but it still is hard. We post things on Facebook. But anyway, so that was another thought if we want to apply for that again.
that under,
Arts and museum. And then another one would be maybe, and I'd applied for this last year too, and we didn't get it, but to do some arts in the park, and maybe during the summer have some different like movies in the park, or have like we had the little children's choir that they said we would love to have other opportunities to be able to come. So we could actually have your dancers, we have our amphitheater. We last year went in with West Haven and purchased a screen and a new projector. So we could just have a variety of things that we could do during the summer. Anyway, that was the third one I thought. Okay, and then we have our 3 Easy Grants. So we did our dance this year that we used Easy Grant money for. I don't know how many of you stayed to the dance. I know how well it would go over, and it was a blast. They stayed till we finally said, okay, this is our last song. And we had a lot of teenagers there, which our teenagers don't always participate in a lot of things with Tomato Days. That went really good, so I thought we could apply for that again. We usually get some funding for our Halloween haunt. because it's an activity we do anyway. And then we involve school children, which is a great. And then another thing we thought is, you know, we have two of our little buildings out there. One is our witch's house. I don't know how many of you noticed at Tomato Days, we had our red state house. Maybe notice it over by the rodeo grounds. So one thing with our mass gathering permit that we were deemed on the year before was we didn't have a central place that everybody knew right where First Aid was. So we purchased that building and it had First Aid signs and our paramedics were there. During the rodeo, some young woman came up just shaking, said, I need help, I need help. I could easily say they're right there, not, I saw them once and they were watching the, you know, I don't know how they felt about being confined to an area, but for us as a city, it worked great. And it's a nice little building. So we could always get another building that I know we would end up using. Okay, that's a whole rattled off. If you have any other ideas, you know, I mean, as time goes on, I just kind of look around and see possibilities of things that we might need. If you have any other suggestions, if any two of you want to volunteer to be on the ramp committee. So I'd like I say, to get going on these as soon as possible. One thing I learned last year, they really would like us to already know who we're going to use, what the amount's going to be at the time we apply, rather than last year, I was under the misunderstanding I was supposed to have more bids. Then when they came out, they said, yeah, but who are you anyway? So this would give us time. Like if we decided, okay, restrooms, it would give us time to kind of look at our option. Or if we ended up doing, you know, more seated covering, you know, the seated arena, we'd have time to look at a few. And so any questions on any of those suggestions, ideas? Anybody want to volunteer to be on the committee? Yeah.
Patty,
Okay, so I'm gonna put Lisa down and Ryan then. Yeah. Yeah,
that's what we would anticipate.
oh, yes. And if you have any ideas too, you know, I'm not saying we've been really fortunate in securing grants. So I mean, it doesn't mean we always will. There is never, ever a guarantee. But we like to look at things we really could use in the city that is a betterment for the city and for the people, and something that's self-sustaining. That's what they want. They don't want us to apply for bathrooms and then go back next year and say, yeah, but you know what? Now we need you to give us 10 more thousand to maintain them.
Hey, Sherry, one of the things that it's always been on my mind is trying to connect the trail system.
Yep.
You know, the trail over here, especially 55. Is that application?
No, I think they're, okay, so this is a little off, but yes. So my husband's working from home and he works for UDOT because of COVID. So I hear his meetings when I'm home, and along that with Wasatch Front Regional Council, they are all the time approving funds. One of those is for trails. And so I actually asked Eldon and he actually gave me the contact person. But I think maybe that's something we could even do in addition, unless if we want to substitute one of these out and do that. But that's something I could look into because it's pretty interesting when you listen to those meetings. There's millions of dollars they approve all the time. But that was through Wasatch Front. That would be a different grant system that we could get.
Yeah, we gotta do that in addition.
I think so too. Oh, good. Yeah. Because maybe we could check into that. And if that's not something over here we could do, maybe there's something here we would want to substitute and do that. Because I agree. People always say that.
Our legal counsel also has.
Wait, we thinking maybe you ought to,
That's been brought up before,
also.
But we need water.
gotta have
but
water.
we need water.
Gotta have
That's,
water.
there was,
Is that right? If the state really puts some money out.
So can you update us on this year's? That was a
Mhm,
question I
yeah,
had too, was
Yeah, so let me
does-
tell you,
Does the grant committee look down on it if you haven't spent previous years?
okay, so let me just explain that just a little bit to you. You have a certain length of time to spend those funds. When we couldn't do Gentry last year, I had to file for an extension for them to use it this year. We don't have our arena lights yet, but in fact, I went out to answer the phone because I just had an update on it. So I actually already have filed an extension for our arena light. So that was Stan Thurgood who called and said, yes, we are on the agenda. I get tired of using COVID as an excuse, but unfortunately, COVID isn't a reason. So sometimes when they went to order things, they absolutely couldn't get it. But he said, assure city council, yes, we're still planning on the arena lights. They're on our docket. They will get done here just as soon as possible. There was some electrical things that already are in place. I don't know if any of you have noticed this either, but on the very north end behind the rodeo, well, it's just, there's that little gate that comes in. I don't know if you noticed, but there's like, used to be a rodeo ticket booth and then like a public works, it was like this tall. It's a pump house. Okay, now it's tall. So we have the electricals all ready to go for that power. They ended up having to raise that. They could get in. The power's all ready to go. So as soon as they get the poles and everything ready, then those will. Because you're absolutely right, Ryan. We don't get this money spent. They're not going to keep giving us funds if we don't spend what they've already given us. So Gentry, now I can do the summary report and I'll keep them on that because I've already done an extension on our rodeo light. But they certainly understood with COVID. You know, like I say, I get tired of using that, but in all reality, that's what it is. Yeah. I know. But that, when we were like kind of brainstorming on these, all these things seemed like something, okay, for instance, the restrooms, they came and brought them in and that's not, all we had to do is get the cement ready, which seemed pretty easy. You do a building and I know I'm not that familiar with all the companies, but I know there's several out here that do them. Yes, they have to do the cement, but then someone brings, they install the building. And the same thing if you end up doing tables, yes, our public works have to put the tables together, but we order those and they bring them. So all of those sounded like something that, would be a little bit more easy. And then even with the arts and museums ones, like the concert we take care of, same thing if we did the electronic message board, someone else builds it, I thought the same thing. We have some pretty major grants this year that are requiring a lot of outside help besides just us. And I haven't ever heard Ryan Shoup and the rubber band, but I don't know. I've heard they're really good. What do you think, Lisa? Well, and it's a different style of music. You can't reach everybody every time because Gentry certainly had their own style of music. And some people said, oh no, there's slow. Well, okay, they are. I mean, that's their style of music. Well, Ryan Shoup, so I've been on listening to some of his songs and he's more of a bluegrass type, that. Yeah, but it may reach someone else. Okay, so just to get you thinking, because this year was our 96th year and in 4 years is our 100. We need like Brad Paisley or something. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just throwing that out there because 100th year celebration in 4 years, very few cities will ever have a 100-year celebration. So just be thinking. I really like Brad Paisley. That's why I'm in. But anyway, be thinking because we want something big, and if I have a second at the end too, we'll talk about tomato. Okay, so will you be thinking of those and we'll try to get a meeting here really pretty good.
So are we put off till spring for our other projects?
For what?
For pickleball and
Okay, so let me tell you, because I talked to everybody this week in preparation for this meeting. So the pickleball, They're still, you know, we had that little bit of a change in exactly where to put them and they're drying that up. I talked to the pickleball. He said, no, they were planning on starting in this fall, depending on the winter. We may not get them completely done this fall, but we are planning on starting the pickleballs. Yeah, but when they came back, I know, when it came back, they had left off the basketball hoop. So when I saw it, I said, well, where's the basketball? He said, oh, anyway, so now they had to go back and add on the basketball.
So we're thinking over here.
So they thought about over here. Well, but you know, there's tree roots over here. There were some issues over here. It takes away our one and only big soccer field. So they were talking over here. Yeah, and
Kids that were down here.
well, and it would eliminate one baseball diamond, but in all honesty, the baseball diamonds do not get used nearly as much as the soccer. So anyway, so that's where we're at with that. And I called Tracy, left a message, but I didn't hear back to ask where we are. And I don't remember the gal's name that would in the basketball courts, but I immediately know and said, wait a minute, you're missing the basketball courts on here. Okay, playground. Yes, I've been in touch with him. There is a meeting here September 27th, and I think they'll get started the week after. So I think, and again, I'm not quite sure what the delay was because every month when I would call him, we were on the schedule. Well, yeah, but we're waiting for stuff to be shipped in. We don't have any, I mean, it's just,
COVID, Sherry.
it's COVID.
It really is. I
It's
mean, it
just
is.
COVID.
But it,
And I know they see me and they just, it really is. I know they get tired of me calling them and I'm rightfully so, but you know, I just don't want us to get lost somewhere along the way. I really don't. And we're not because I've talked to all of them. Okay. Our other things we had grants for was our small pavilion, but again, we were waiting to put that family pavilion by the pickleball court. So we're kind of have to do that first before we do it. Had picnic tables that are going under that small pavilion, but again, we can't do that. So it's there. We had those benches, just some seating benches. I did have Brand Belknap's son, Dennis, came in and asked, okay, what, because his parents have a memorial bench. I said, I know, but LeGrand wants to be where the grandkids can watch basketball. I mean, we're all on hold because that's how it is. I've asked Wayne Haas to help me on the historical marker sign, kind of as if any of you want to help with that, any suggestions, we can get those ordered. I asked you before, have you seen those in Roy? They'll be similar, but probably whatever. Reason why I asked Wayne is because his mom did a lot of history and so does Wayne. I said, if he could just kind of help me. The concert we already did, that was a ramp grant. The dance we already did, and we've already have money for Halloween. So even though I know right now it gets frustrating, well, everything really is in the work. We already have all the bids, the money's already there. We're just waiting for them. And it's not that we aren't on the schedule, because every one of them, have them all on my phone and I call on a regular. So any other questions on that? I know, I feel the same way. I have missionaries that every day say, when are those people on court? Again. Hey. Yes, okay, but I know. So, okay, so this is kind of what we've done. Brother. Okay, before we get to Halloween Hunt, if any of you have any suggestions on tomato days, always after the fact, I go through and I try to write down what worked, what didn't work. We had a couple of new events this year. The family bike ride, I think, great. Had more people come and participate than we thought. Like I already mentioned, was the dance. The gentry concert had a really good turnout, had great power. This maybe doesn't, you probably don't notice this because it's behind the scenes, but we had a whole new power panel that was installed right on where the dugout is. So the one that's headed to the west, that our amphitheater plugged direct, because 2 years ago our generator failed. And then it was like, stop the concert. And it was like, no. But, and I said, we're not doing that with Gentry. We're not doing that with anybody. So now we have power. It's great. So now if you have any suggestions, please email me and let me know. We need to have 3 serving lines. We found that out. There was a long line. But again, I felt like we were getting volunteers as much as we could. Oh, I mean, it takes like a whole city to put on tailgates. Oh, get emotional, but there are so many volunteers that help. It is incredible, incredible. And, you know, you just tell them you're over this and then they just do it and it is wonderful. And we don't have everything added up yet, but historically in the past, not only do we not spend budget money, we usually end up about 30,000. And I don't know this year. Our sponsors were about similar. We did have to pay for the big tent. Is our sponsor that usually gives us the big tents had a paying job. It was like, I can get paid or I can give this to you. And darn it, he picked the paying job. So anyway, but if you have any suggestions or ever any comments, please let me know. Okay, health fair.
How did we feel like the dinner was the hamburger and hot dogs so good?
I did not, you know, I can tell you from my end, the hamburgers and hot dogs seem to be easier just because kids will eat the hot dogs. I ordered too many because I always panic we're going to run out. I do that with everything I do, but came and took leftovers and so we have that much left over. We just gave them whoever wanted.
I think the only confusing thing on the dinner this year was whether they needed to pay or not.
Yes.
So that was real clear.
Yeah, you know, and we've always had it be a $2 suggested donation. So maybe for next year, we need to have you decide. Do you want it?
Just always say $2 because had cash in their pocket. But there was some who was like, I didn't bring any money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we're clearing $30,000.
Well, and let me tell you something else this year with the dinner. So the mayor told me about a grant to apply for that was Thrive 125 because the state had their 125th. And so I applied for it. We actually received $1,500 that we're going to use that to dinner. They told us we couldn't fireworks. I thought, let's offset fireworks. So we actually had that $50 that we're using. So
Since I don't think people mind it.
yeah,
And then there was those who had cash and said, keep the change.
I know. The beans are really good. And you know what? The corn. Meat was pink. Right, I know. I know. No. And they tried telling them. I know. Yeah, and some lines were saying this is smoked meat. Smoked meat is pink and it was, but Dawson. But and that's something we can discuss for next year. You know, I think, hey, what was easier about it is the pulled pork is an all night, pulling the pork is a multiple hours. I mean, and I'm not saying that I'm a wild hamburgers, but it wasn't an entire night of someone sleeping. And as far as the buying for all our corn is a lot of work, and really, as a mom, I'm a grandma, but you'd watch those rolls of moms trying to 3-4 plates. You know, one thing that we did this year that next year I'm going to try to even do a little. We had some volunteers helping carry. So I carried quite a bit. And yes, and if we had some, because sometimes you have people come, wheelchairs that cannot. So that would be a really good idea to have just some volunteers. Also, while I'm thinking of it, the rodeo, we need ushers because we get a sellout crowd. So you don't buy more tickets than there's, but have people that are so used to now, like their whole front of them were drink, have So then. So I could go in and say, hey, are you saving that? And then say, no, we're not. And then people could sit down. But, you know, you go other places and you have ushers that say, hey, well, is there room? That might be a suggestion. And if we can get those, have a little, talked about maybe. Sell out crowd.
We just need to add coleslaw next week.
Coleslaw.
Okay, I love coleslaw, but my husband. I know, but you know, that's an option. We could have coleslaw. And the ice cream sandwiches, I think went really well, you know, and we've had like Loft House donated cookies. I didn't even ask him because with COVID, I don't know, it's just a little weird, but I think the ice cream went good. No, so I think for the most part, things, we didn't have the fish, but you know, y'all know about that. We couldn't do the fish because of the water. Maybe next year we can, the fish. Volleyball tournament grows every year. You know, one of the things I'm the most proud, a lot of things I am, but most of our events are, and people come and they would say that, someone said, I'm gonna go play cost. Free, is there a commercial that says that? Free, free, free. And even our rodeo that we charge $10 for is nothing compared to rodeos that are. So, no, go to the baby show, they pay a few dollars, they pay $5 and they get $10 back in price. I think. Uh-huh. It was fun. I know. Yeah. Yeah, did. Had a lot of people for just our very first week. Yeah.
Sherry, you did a great job. Thank you.
Oh, you know,
We love you. Thank you.
like I say, there's just lots and lots of people come and help. You know, if you added up all the people. But you know, one interesting night of that Monday night, I had a couple really try to acknowledge our sponsors with banners up. Rodeo, they announce them. No, I know. Not like Tomato Days. Did any laugh? No, we didn't. And we didn't have big schedules. And we've done before, given those one just little. Okay, one apology I owe to all of you, and I will do better with this next year. I need to, on your cars, have councilmen. I need your names on the car with. I've always tried to recognize the 90-year-olds, and in that next year, that's on my list. I'll do better.
So Teresa wrote with me, so please write that. I don't know who the gentleman was down by the park.
Wayne Widdowson.
Who are you? No.
Yeah. No, I'll do that better. You know, I think of so many things the day of, and then it's like, but yeah. Yeah. I know, and I didn't bring in this year. We talked about it in a, yeah. Yeah. I usually bring a sign-up sheet and I didn't. So then, oh, yeah. It went great. I think it went great. Okay, so, okay, so at health fair. Okay, this Monday is the health fair. It is here at this facility from 4 until 7. And in cooperation with the CTC Council, then they gave us $2,000, and then in our budget is the 1,000. Have the first 500 people get the free meal ticket. And we have Lucky Slice pizza coming, corn dogs coming, and the Yum Yum truck. So they'll be here 4 to 7. Flu shots, we not get COVID. We could get COVID, but we had to have people sign up because they can only bring Pfizer. they have to have it thought out long. So she had to know, and so I sent out that blast, but not everybody's on, but don't really have any other way to send it. But anyway, so they're not bringing COVID. But the flu one will be a good one. Yeah. And you know, we have some hospitals that can't come because of COVID, but we still have we have a lot of. Okay, so anybody that can come and or even maybe like 3:00, help all our vendors. So I have just a little bit of a conflict. Eldon's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award from that day at noon. And he told me the 20th, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't go. That was my, that was my first answer. I'm really sorry, I can't go. Well, but then anyway, I will. But then I told him we're driving separate because I'm gonna leave. Anyway, so I'm gonna try to have everything set up. But if anybody could be here at 3, because our vendors come, we'll have everything ready, but sometimes they need help. And if there's anybody that can help pass out the meal tickets, youth council will be here. So that's this coming Monday, the 20th. And postcards went out, right? Today, Ryan. So you should have gotten a postcard. Gives you all that detail. So hopefully. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's okay. And you know what? The health fair is usually pretty mellow. It really is. I don't know if it's because we came off tomato days, so everything's mellow. I don't know, but it's usually pretty good. You know, just set up tables and vendors come and they clean up after and okay, that's okay. Okay, so October 9th, Halloween haunt. And one thing too, and I don't know if you've noticed it, but I've tried to have consistent days. So the second Saturday of every October and like the third Monday of every September is our health. So I'm trying to get it so people ask. Hopefully, COVID allowing, first Monday in September, which I think September 6th, Santa will come to. Last year we couldn't. But hopefully this year. September 6th. Last year Santa just came, passed out, had hot chocolate, had some entertainers. Okay, one thing at the Halloween hunt, we're not going to start doing hot chocolate and COVID. Last year they told me no, and I'm not even, well, worry about it. Okay, Halloween hunt is just well, no, I think the witch maybe is going to pass out like a witch is, has guts or guts, so you, I mean, we'll try to see maybe that water. Sometimes it's cold though. And I love the hot chocolate. That's my favorite. That grass. Want to raise any red flags? Okay, so we don't like candles anymore. We have the battery ones, which are so much greater, but with that, we still are putting batteries back. So it starts at 6:30. So even if you could come like at, well, I told youth council not on the whole day, but even 3 or 3:30, so we can get all this bags out and all those little candles lit, not the battery. That's had the women's club ask about helping hot chocolate, and I told them, I'll call the helping. I like the hot chocolate, but I think that's it.
Build over here, there's line.
Oh, it is? Oh, good. Okay.
Great or whatever, but that it was on purpose. On purpose, and you'll.
Yeah. Well, you know, and anytime, we just have great volunteers. In fact, while I was sitting here, I had a message saying, help putting the plastic up. And we lined the park with that black plastic, which is a lot of work, but it just, after we didn't, cars pull up and their lights are. I've already had a group volunteer to do that, one to come help fill up the sacks. We had a down the top of the white bags. All these things take hours. like such a simple thing, but. Saturday, yes, they're folding down bags, touching up some of our tomatoes out here, and they're wiping out the Bowery. I never turn down volunteers. I honestly don't. So anytime people ask, I always. He doesn't. Anytime you want to, that would be great. Council would ever want to do a booth. Would love to have you. You know, anything you want to do, if you want to have pumpkins with your heads on them, whatever you'd want to do, if you want to carve a pumpkin that would be fun. That would be, but no, that would be great. Because that's one of the harder things is getting the booths. It takes the longer. And the luminaries take some. Okay, any other thoughts, questions? I know I try to talk really fast and that was a lot to cover all of that. Okay, hey, thank you. Thank you so much for everything
you.
everybody does. So.
Okay. Excited and tired. I don't. That really brings. Well, last on our agenda is.
Question. ARPA. Give us some money for that.
So there is a guaranteed amount. We're getting like. Does have to. Sewer. Water.
Any type of infrastructure. Yes.
So
That discussion we're gonna have.
it is a discussion. So, but in addition to that, there's also ARPA money that can be applied. Did apply for $50 million. That was. So storm drain. Or really doesn't. Waterways that need to be. So we did apply for that, and if we happen to get approved, that will come. At half of what we have now.
I mean, the discussion we'll have next couple meetings.
Sometimes, you know, when they talk about sewer, about well, that'll be some. And the internet. Have a few years. Right, okay, so that's not on our agenda, but I would like
Davis County.
the other two are up in East Hooper. Not that.
And they might. And
Where did they want to, where did they want to go to? Well, the rezones that will be in. All of them. So anyway. On high density. Is that okay? Things pertain to what's on the agenda.